its blade, the newest host of an ancient power, old as time itself, known as the Darkness.
RenderForest.com.
With these, and my family. She smirked and nodded as she pulls out a golden flute. Later that day, Shadow pulls a songbook out of the castle's library and gives it to Rose and said, practice singing these songs as beautifully as you can, then return this book to the library by morning. Rose nods as she took the book and began practicing. The next morning, Shadow was woken up from his sleep by Rose. She said, Daddy, I finished the book and returned it to the library like you said to. Shadow sat up rubbing his eyes and said, good job, Rose. Here's a reward. He gave her a chocolate chip cookie from his nightstand's drawer. She hugs him and took it to the game room, eats it, and played Harvest Moon, another wonderful life. Now we're nearly ready for him. Shadow says in his mind. 2 days later, Shadow heard the castle walls explode and said, get ready to sing, Rose, Bella, prepare to play the harp. He shouted. Eventually Blade kicks the door open and slowly approached the three. Now, Shadow shouted. The three began to play and sing a song known as Mary's Sacred Harmony, and Blade fell to his knees. His power was sealed away once again, and Blade's blood was changed into angel blood, turning him into a servant of God. Shadow's body had reshaped itself, turning into Sky for good. However, his hair stayed spiky black. Bella and Rose ran over to him and hugged him, saying, welcome back, Sky. Chapter 11. Sky smiled and hugs them back. I'm home, once again, he said with a smile. Suddenly, Sky felt another dangerous force watching him. So he heads to the bathroom, covering his left eye, and said, I know that you are watching me. Who are you and why are you here? The entity says in reply, Wraith, and I'm here to crush you and Michael Myers. Sky nods and Wraith vanished. 20 minutes later, Sky was in the kitchen making his special chicken breasts when he felt his left eye impulse. So he stops, pulls out a piece of glass and saw that it was now golden with a dragon's pupil. He shrugged it off and continued cooking, for another 5 minutes. Food's ready, he shouted to Bella and Rose. The two rushed into the kitchen and began eating when Bella asked, Sky, what happened to your left eye? Sky walked over to her and whispered, a new threat, named Wraith, is coming for me and one of my cousins. My eye must have evolved due to this. Suddenly Sky remembered that Alice was in the dungeon and he grabbed his cloak, ran to her and freed her. He brought Alice to his room, fed her, and placed her on the couch. Chapter 12. Wraith. After about 2 hours, Alice woke up and saw Sky. She hugs him and said, Father said that another great evil will arrive in 2 days. Sky hugs her back and whispered back, saying, I know, he told me this morning, and he did this to me, revealing his left eye to her. Alice's eyes widened upon seeing his eye and looked worried. A minute later, Bella suddenly pulled Sky into her room, locked her door, placed him onto her bed, kisses him and bites his shoulder, pulling off some flesh. Sorry, but I need this, she added. Sky smiled and said, it's fine, it already healed, take as much as you want. She nods and continued for about 3 hours before falling asleep in his lap. Chapter 13. He's here. The next day, Sky woke up next to Bella and walked to his PS4, played Battlefield 1, and suddenly the castle wall blew up. He's here at last, Sky adds. Wraith turned his head towards Sky and said, I finally found you. Cousin, Sky smirks, and pats his hand on the couch next to him, indicating for Wraith to sit by him. Wraith nods and sat next to Sky. Suddenly, his wolf ears show up, and he grabbed a controller to play with Sky. Alice walked in and asks, is that Wraith? Also, could I please join in? as she brought cookies into the room with her. The two nodded and placed a third controller on the other side of the